and welcome back to my channel. I failed to film all the videos that I wanted to film for Pride Month, so I decided to do a Pride Summer. If Miss Rona can take 3 months out of my life and ask nobody, I'm not going to ask nobody about prolonging Pride. What it actually means for this channel is I'm going to up significantly, second language, bitches. I'm going to up significantly the amount of videos, queer-related videos, that I'm going to post on my channel this summer. Today's video is going to be super chill. I just want to read a bunch of queer releases. The thing is, a lot of books that I actually really want to get my hands on came out in May and June, and I didn't have the time to read them because I was filming other videos and reading for these videos, so this is my opportunity to actually read what I want to read right now. I'm not going to announce the whole list because there are quite a few books here and I'm not sure that I'm going to read all of them. I'm just going to pick up the ones that appeal to me the most. So I'm currently reading on audio You Should See Me in a Crown by Leah, which was hyped a lot on Twitter, and I recently saw it on Autostraddle plus Script carries it, and even though I get farther and farther away from young adult fiction, I wanted to check it out. So it's about this girl in a South state that wants to be a prom queen to get money and to get into a college of her choosing. First of all, it's a very foreign concept for me. Proms in general, we do have them, but they are very different. We don't have prom kings and queens. And this concept is especially interesting because prom kings and prom queens get money with their position, which honestly makes a huge difference and takes away the stupidity of this tradition. At this point, I can tell you that I really enjoy the vibe of this story. I really like the protagonist and her friends. The second book that I'm reading at the same time as an ebook, because I do that, is Something to Talk About by Meril Wilsner. I've seen a couple bad reviews about this, but I really want to love this book because it sounds awesome. The thing is, I am a few chapters in and I already see some flaws, at least they are flaws for me. So the writing is a bit simple, and I usually don't like that, but I would be able to forgive it if something else keeps my interest. This is a love story between a PA named Emma and an older Hollywood screenwriter named Joe. Emma has been working for Joe for I think a couple of years already and sort of developed a crush on her, which she doesn't want to admit. But it all starts to unravel when Joe asks Emma to accompany her to the red carpet, and they're caught on camera very close to each other, so the media starts to speculate that they are actually dating. The part that I find extremely unrealistic is that the media, the heterosexist media, will start rumors about two women dating when they do not recognize actual FF couples that are dating right now. They were giving the gal pal treatment to Kristen Stewart and to Cara Delevingne for years when they were holding hands with other women, having brunches and romantic dinners, going to sex shops with them, kissing them on the street. So this is a bit of a stretch. No one in Hollywood would start a rumor like that unless they caught two women naked in bed. So a lot of it is wish fulfillment. And I do understand it, because the first few chapters I imagined Drew to be Lucy Liu because I love Lucy Liu. I think she is the most attractive woman in the world. I'm scared to admit it because you will start spamming me on Curious Cat again about my obsession with older women. So I imagined Drew as Lucy Liu and I pretended to be Emma, and it was all dandy until Drew literally mentioned Lucy Liu and broke the spell. She literally said, "You have to promise, Emma, if you'll see Lucy Liu on the red carpet, you won't start freaking out." Just like that, the fantasy that I meticulously created broke to pieces. I know this book is not going to be everyone's cup of tea because the characters have an age gap, but it falls into my sweet spot. PA and an actress dating. I'm obsessed with that. So here's to me hopefully really liking this book. It's the middle of the weekend. We got an extra one this week again because it's actually the voting day. We as a household decided to vote earlier. Anyway, I'm just lazing around in my bed. It's about 2 p.m. I already had breakfast and I decided to lay back and read more. I have to be extremely truthful here. I'm not enjoying Something to Talk About by Meril Wilsner as much as I hoped I'm going to enjoy it. The idea of this book was so cool and interesting to me, and something that I thought is going to be very satisfying, but the way it's written just makes me restless. The bits are very tiny. It's as if this book was written in spurs, and it's very distracting and annoying because I want to immerse myself and to read more, and every time the bed ends I'm like, what if I got a snack now? Or what if I watched an episode of something on Netflix? Or what if I went for a walk? The whole book in general feels like it's trying to get to certain points that have to be in a romance book, which is annoying. And also with a cover like that, I feel like the book has to be funny, because this is the cover that marketing gives to rom-coms, and I want an FF rom-com so much. I'm constantly looking for the FF red, white and royal blue, and then I remember that Kacen has to write one themselves because no one can do it the way they do. So I guess I'm just waiting for when Kacen comes out with their FF book that has to be out in 2021, I believe. I think so far this book doesn't seem very romantic to me, and the characters don't have any chemistry. We're not even told that they are attracted to each other. We're told that they like each other because they work together, which for me is a very weak argument for them becoming more than friends. Also, what rides on my nerves for real is how they use each other's names in the conversation sometimes. For example, Emma says, "Joe, I brought you lunch," etc. And sometimes they use Miss and surname. It's so grating because at this point you have to decide how you're going to address each other, by name or by surname. You can't go with both because first is informal and second is formal. You cannot go back to formal when you already went informal. In Russian language also, you cannot go from one to another in the same sentence. You have to choose how you're going to address the person beforehand, because it's going to change the structure of the sentence itself. Someone's calling me. I have to take that. I'm going to update you soonish. I hope to finish this book today, to be honest, because I'm tired. Hey everyone, I'm back. It's a Saturday, but I'm working a little bit today because we had a bank holiday on Wednesday, and I always feel like when they give us a bank holiday you have to catch up on the weekends, on the regular weekends, because they still expect the same amount of work to be done in the less amount of time, which is always baffling to me. I also am going on vacation in a week, so I have to prepare a lot. I'm currently on a break and making myself some matcha, and I'm just going to go through the books that I'm reading right now. I finished reading You Should See Me in the Crown, and I actually loved it. I loved it so much. I think Leah just has such a fun writing style, which I really enjoyed, because in a contemporary book that deals with a bunch of serious topics and not so serious topics, I value a balance. I'm not much for hard-hitting contemporary, and it's something you can track in my reading, but I sometimes am dipping my toes into those types of books, and I enjoy it when they are well-rounded. I found Liz to be such a fun and lively protagonist. In general, I enjoyed that the romantic story with a subplot, because I think I've read a lot of romances in the last few months, so it's harder to impress me with them, and also I want to read something else too. I do have some romances on the list that I want to read for this vlog, so we'll see how the cards will fall. I need to switch on my kettle and it's going to be noisy, so I guess we're going to do a little montage here. So, You Should See Me in a Crown is Chef's Kiss. Really liked it, gave it 4 stars, even though it's very hard to impress me with contemporaries, and especially young adult contemporaries these days. I'm just not the audience for it anymore. I'm nearing my 30s, so you really have to try. I can't talk and do something at the same time, I'm sorry. I think this is going to be enough. So, I'm still reading Something to Talk About by Meril Wilsner. It's very dry still. I just don't understand how this relationship is going to become a romantic relationship because there's no chemistry, no tension. I'm very disappointed by this book and I really wanted to like it. The premise of it is just so perfect, and I've been seeing a lot of early reviews that were disappointing too because they were saying that the book is bad, and I am sad now because I wanted this book to be good. I picked up another book too because that's how I roll. The Black Flamingo by Atta. It is on script, by the way, and I highly recommend it. It is written in verse, but I actually didn't know that when I picked it up because when someone is reading it to you, it's not noticeable. This is what I have to officially deal with because it's literally happening outside of my window. One of these people is my father. They're doing some sing-alongs with our neighbors because they are bored AF at home. I don't know how they expect me to work in these conditions because it's very distracting and it's also extremely hot when I'm closing the window. I just finished listening to The Black Flamingo and I loved it. I think it's my favorite book so far in this vlog. I gave 5 stars without a doubt because it was just so well written and honest, and I love the point of view characters so much. Also, I think I would have liked it if I read it myself because I don't like books written in verse or poetry in general, but I loved listening to it. So if you're not into verse or poetry, I recommend listening to it. I also made an executive decision to stop reading Something to Talk About by Meril Wilsner. I'm about 100 pages in and it's so boring still. I'm not sure I would be able to finish this book. It might be one of the DNFs of this video. I know that some people that I watch on YouTube also DNF'd it, so I feel very validated in my opinions about this book. It would benefit from having a bit of humor in it, a bit of more tension, a bit of more romance, and so far they're still on second name basis, which is very awkward. So I already put the book down and I started reading Two Rogues Make a Right by Sebastian. I don't know, maybe because the previous book boggled me down so much, this feels like a fresh breath of air. I in general really like the way Sebastian writes, and this book is literally all comfort, all fluff, all the good things. It's about one of the Cedric's brothers. If you're following the series, you know what I'm talking about. There are 3 brothers and each has a story. There are 3 brothers and each have a story. This fucking crow. There are 3 brothers and each has their own story. Will is the youngest and his brothers sacrificed a lot for his education and for him to get into Navy. So after a very terrible experience in the Navy, he decides to quit it and become a regular sailor, and he gets addicted to drugs. So he's an addict. And in this book, he's reconnecting with his oldest friend, his childhood friend named Martin. Martin was very sickly, he had some issues with his lungs, and a couple of years ago he caught tuberculosis. So at the start of the novel, Will arranges for him and Martin to go to the country so Martin could get some fresh air, and he's also trying to nurse him back to health. They both had feelings for each other for a very long time since they were teenagers, so there is a lot of longing and a lot of meaningful stares and a lot of things that I really love about romance novels. I am very pleased with it so far, and I think I'm going to enjoy it, especially after trying to read the torture that is something to talk about. It's official. Sebastian did it again. I love 𝕊𝕌ℙ𝕆ℎ𝕆ℝ𝕋 so much. It's officially becoming my favorite Sebastian book. We'll need to sit on this one, but I do think that it was very lovely, very beautiful, and very mellow. The cottagecore lesbian in me feels so validated. There are two types of queer people in this world. Ones that want to move to a huge city and go clubbing every Friday, and ones that want to escape to the country, raise pigs and bake pies. I was more inclined to be the city queer for the longest time, but then in the last few years I feel the pull for the country living and the peace and quiet. The couple in this book, Will and Martin, moved to the country because Martin has tuberculosis and he needs fresh air, and they have such a wonderful peaceful time there. This is one of those books where Friends to Lovers is done right for me personally, because I'm not a huge fan of Friends to Lovers. This one has so much longing and love. I am just very jealous of their relationship, first of all, and second of all, I just want their life in general. My feelings on the book are pretty transparent, I think. I loved it, I gave it 5 stars. I think it was very beautiful, very soothing, and I recommend it first and foremost as a comfort read. Also, if you read this book, my favorite scene was when Will got drunk because it's hilarious. I'm even going to read you an excerpt because it's really funny. Will seemed in danger wandering into a ditch, so Martin took him firmly by the hand and returned him to the center of the lane. "Did you know?" Will began. So they were at the "did you know" stage of inebriation then. Martin knew it well and suppressed a fond smile. "Did you know that your fingers are very long?" He held up their joined hands, pressing them palm to palm as if to compare. "Yes. Well, that's generations of elegance and reading at work. Now tell me that you've never been in this situation when your crush is so drunk and acting so gay and you can't even mention it because they're drunk, and mayhaps you're just imagining them acting weirdly and they're just acting weirdly because they're drunk." Also, the banter in this book is so good and so believable that they were friends for years. 5 out of 5, I just loved it so much. I wish Sebastian was a faster writer because I need more from her. After finishing 𝕊𝕌ℎ𝕆ℎ𝕆ℎ𝕆ℎ, I immediately jumped into Meet Cute Club by Jack Harbon. It's a new order for me, but he comes highly recommended. A lot of people that I watch on booktube love this book. And also, I believe Mina, whose recommendations I trust when it comes to romances. Usually we match. I am 50 pages in. So far I'm so on the writing. I think it's pandering a bit too much to the bookish community, but it is about books and reading, so I guess that is something that comes with it. It's about two characters, Jordan and Rex. Jordan is an avid reader of romance novels. He's a black man in his 20s, and he is used to people laughing about his reading preferences. So when he goes to his favorite bookshop to buy some copies for his romance book club, he meets Rex, who also makes fun of his reading preferences, and they get into a bit of a scuffle about it, and Rex decides to also pick up some of the novels that Jordan decided to buy, to prove a point basically. And I guess they eventually will end up in the same reading club, and Rex will realize how enjoyable and how fun romance novels can be. The book is very short, which is a bit disappointing because they're moving really fast. They were strangers when they met, and they feel a lot of sexual and romantic attraction towards each other, which I understand when it comes to sexual attraction, but romantic attraction kind of comes later in the game. So I'm a bit annoyed by that. I would love for the characters to be a bit more fleshed out, especially when it comes to Jordan, but I'm still intent on enjoying this book. I just need to lower my expectations a little bit, because when it comes to novellas and shorter stories, you don't get as much background. It's 10 p.m. and perhaps we're not looking our very best for this update, but the show must go on because I have to go to the dentist tomorrow and I have a lot of stuff to do, so I might not have the time to update you. I will put my night cream on to not waste time. I finished reading Meet Cute Club, and indeed, as it is promised in the title, it was very cute. I am debating what star rating to give this book. It is clearly self-pub because it lacks a strong editing hand. I was very skeptical about it, especially in the first few chapters, because if I immediately can see that there are some leaps of logic in the book, it is hard for me to get invested. But the book got significantly better, even though the hook is extremely unrealistic. Like, there is no reason for Rat to look for Jordan and to look for his club after their meeting, and I would have loved a bit of backstory on Jordan and who he is before he meets Red. These are the problems that I find in a lot of short fiction, so I'm still debating between 3 and 4. I think it's a solid 3.5, and I would round it up to 4 on Goodreads, but for me, in my head, it will still remain at 3.5. Overall though, I think that the author had done a great job with the romance itself, because it was very lovely and I was left with a very pleasant feeling. I think that the characters complement each other, which is great in a romance novel. That's the point. I enjoyed the subplots. I thought the sex scenes were very spicy without being extremely vulgar. There is a distinction between erotica and romance, and sometimes self-pub books that are marketed as romance are actually erotica novels because of the way the sexual stuff is written. This one was very balanced in this regard, and these guys had the nerve, which I appreciate. Some of the dialogue and banter I found to be extremely clever, and I just genuinely like the dynamic between the characters, which makes it a great romance. I just want the first few chapters to be as strong as the later chapters. Would I read this order again? For sure, without question. I started reading 2 last books for this vlog. Felix Ever After by Kacen Callender. I'm listening to it on audio. Thankfully, the script is carrying the audiobook. Kacen Callender has a rare ability to effortlessly, or so it seems, pull you into the head of the character. This is a story of a transgender guy named Felix who wants to get into a prestigious art program in uni, but who struggles with his portfolio, with his insecurities, with his identity as a transgender guy, with his friendships, and also with some bullying issues. So far, I really like how Felix's transness is introduced in the story, how there's no dead naming, how there are layers to his identity and to his relationships with other people. The other thing that I find interesting is Kacen Callender has not created a perfect sugar-coated character that is an example for everyone, which is still a sore moment for marginalized authors, because there are proportionally less books with certain reps out there, and readership assumes that the characters that represent them or represent marginalized groups must be perfect and ideal because of that. I find Felix is so infuriating so far. He's late and irresponsible, and he hates the guy that points that out. He's getting severely bullied by someone, which is not a laughing matter, and he wants to punish the guy that he suspects is doing that to him, but he doesn't have any proof. The only reason to believe that this guy is doing it to him is that Felix personally doesn't like him and they don't vibe well, which is so petty and so realistic for a teenager. It's not going to end well for either of them. I'm pretty sure that Felix is not confident in his identity yet, and something is going to change along the way in the book. The second book and the last book that I picked up is Burn Our Bodies Down by Rory Power. I believe that's the title, and I'm reading it as an ebook. Rory Power definitely has a very distinctive writing style. It's the writing style that I would be able to recognize if I didn't know that she had written it. Very interesting, very original, and I believe some people are not going to like it because of it, but I do definitely vibe with it. It feels like she's describing a movie to me, like she imagined the movie in her head, and she's transcribing it onto paper in very meticulous detail. She's more interested in the vibe and the atmosphere and what's not told than what's told. The story itself makes me very curious too. This book might become my favorite. We'll see. I don't want to jinx it yet. Anyway, I'm going to go finish editing my video, and I guess I'll see you tomorrow. Maybe for the last update. Who knows? I just finished listening to Felix Ever After, and I cannot wipe this silly smile from my face because I loved it. I loved it so much. It was just so wholesome and so good and so wonderful for my soul. I love Felix. Scratch everything that I told you about him in the previous clip. It doesn't matter anymore. Things turned around for me. I love him and I'm willing to protect him from anything. The way love is described in this novel just makes me envious of being young and being able to fall in love like this. Not that it was oversimplified. I think this novel is very smart in its subplots and in its underlying message. Felix, at the end, discovers what love is and how he was always running away from it. It was just so beautiful. I'm sorry. I don't know why I'm having such an emotional reaction to this story, but I guess it means that the story is very powerful and I connected to it. For sure, a couple of plot twists were very obvious to me, but it still did not diminish the overall feel and the overall experience with this novel. I just feel so soft and mushy, and I love love when it comes to romantic love and to platonic love and to loving yourself, because this book is literally about all these different kinds of love. Clearly, I highly recommend it and I gave it 5 stars. This book needs a movie, a TV show, a sequel, a something, because I am not done. I love this character so much. I'm not going to give you any spoilers, but I will just validate my previous expectation that Felix is going to question his identity. Later he discovers that he actually identifies not as a transgender guy, but as a demi-boy. I'm mentioning this specifically because I know that people are looking for books with this type of wrap. If you have not picked this book up yet, and you wanted to, or you were kind of curious but not sure if you're going to love it, I loved it, and if we have similar tastes, you're going to love it. I just feel like this book needs to be the next big queer book. We need to make that happen because it's so good. It's just so good. I just love it. I'm so sorry. It's actually 10 p.m. again, and I'm feeling a bit loopy because I have not slept at all. This night I was reading Burn Our Bodies Down, with which I had a very different experience. I love this book as well. I also gave it 5 stars. But this one was such a creepy little novel. It was like all my specific fears wrapped in a bow and presented to me on a golden platter. I felt so creeped out. I couldn't sleep after it all, and I want to make a comparison to a famous TV show, but I can't because it's gonna be spoilery then. This novel for sure is very weird and very different, which is what I liked about it. I loved that while I was reading it, I was thinking, no, she's not going to do it, is she? And then she just went there. I love an author that can take risks. I actually think that this story wouldn't have worked if Rory Power had a different writing style. Somehow the way she writes absolved this story of the loopholes. Because when I started deconstructing it and when I put it on a realistic canvas, it stops making sense. But as a novel written specifically by this author, it works somehow. Overall, this novel surprised me a lot. I was expecting it to go a certain way because the way it was written kind of implied it, but it always managed to give me something different. I just think it's a very well crafted book. I'm not sure I gave you the summary, so I'm just going to shortly explain what this book is about. It's about this girl named Margot who lives with an emotionally abusive mother with whom she can never connect, and she always is asking about her family, if she has someone else, someone that would love her. Her mother is very closed off and never wants to talk about it. They're often low on funds, so her mother sells her stuff and buys them back when she gets the money. One time Margot saves up enough money to buy some of her mother's stuff herself, and she finds an old copy of a Bible in a box, and tucked inside a photo of her mother when she was young and a phone number of her grandmother that she didn't even know that she has. So she calls her grandmother and she decides that she wants to see her, so she runs away from her mother and gets herself into a different kind of trouble. So these are the last books that I've read for this vlog. I'm not going to continue because I feel like this video is going to be very long. I actually want to say that this reading vlog is one of my favorites. It's been one of the best experiences with reading vlogs that I've ever had. I've had so many 4 and 5 stars and only 1 DNF. So I can proclaim that this vlog is a win. If you read any of those books and you want to talk about your feelings, you can do so in the comments down below, or you can tell me what you're reading right now or what you read recently. If you reached this part of the video but you didn't have anything to say or leave in the comments, you can leave an apple emoji in the comments down below and I'll know that you're watching. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you soon with another one. But until then,